So there are the four causes that bring rebirth in Dewa Chen in Sukhavati, and so this morning that we looked at the first cause, and this first cause is like the root of the causes for rebirth in Dewa Chen, which is that one wishes to be reborn in Dewa Chen, which means that we want the appearances of Dewa Chen to arise. And for those appearances to arise, then we want to have an aspiration towards them, to like those appearances, to want those appearances. And so therefore there is the imagining of Dewa Chen in one's mind, the thinking of it and remembering it again and again, to create a strong tendency or latency within one's mind for rebirth in Dewa Chen. So this acts as a root or a basis for the rebirth in Dewa Chen. But is that in itself, is that enough? The having Dewa Chen imagined in one's mind and thinking of it again and again does create a strong latency, potential for rebirth in Dewa Chen, but it doesn't have the force, the power of the volition that will, or impetus that will send you to rebirth to Dewa Chen. For that, one needs to gather an accumulation of good karma. So, therefore, with as well as this cause, which is like the root or principal cause for rebirth in Dewa Chen, which is to think of Dewa Chen, to imagine it, then one needs the condition to which will enable that rebirth, which is gathering the accumulation. So one needs to accumulate good karma, or to gather the accumulation of merit, and that is the second cause for rebirth in Dewa Chen. And so to gather the accumulations, they are generally the practice of the 6 perfections and so on that people do. But in particular, as exceptional means of gathering the accumulations, there's the practice of the 7 branches, to as a method for increasing faith and devotion and merit. So there are these practice of the 7 branches, and amongst these 7, the first is paying homage. Ngodup says, in paying homage, the Tibetan word for the first of the 7 branches is chatsal. And so this term chatsal is a very old term, thousands of years old, and it's what the Tibetan translators decided to use when translating this word homage from Sanskrit into Tibetan. But what does this word chatsal itself literally mean, or what does it mean? Well, the first half, the word cha, that this can mean like to clean, and like when one says one cleans or one sweeps and so on. So it means to clean or to make pure. So it means to remove, impurities, so that there is no anger, there is no pride, there is no envy, and instead it is there is a purity or a cleanliness, and that there are just good qualities, just like faith and devotion and so on. So one is one is cleansing or making clean or pure, and that is the meaning of the first syllable cha. And the second half of the word tsal means that one is saying, I am going to do that. That is what one is going to do. One is going to practice that. One himself is going to cleanse or purify. So that is kind of what the word chatsal means. But often it's generally used to mean when one is bowing down and touching the ground with the 5 points of the body. But in a specific use, but generally it also means to pay homage with the body, to pay homage with the speech, and to pay homage with the mind. That one is showing respect and devotion with the physically and vocally and mentally. So, who does one pay homage to? One pays homage to Amitabha, because we wish to be reborn in the realm of Amitabha. One's aspiration is directed towards Amitabha and his realm, so we pay homage to Amitabha. And so one pays homage with the body, with the speech, and with the mind. And so it's that through one pays homage with the body by placing first one's hands together in a gesture of reverence, and it's that the hands are placed together in the shape of a lotus that is blossoming or about to blossom. And this symbol is used in the Dharma because the lotus is something that grows out of the mud, but though it comes out of the mud, that when it blossoms, it is unstained by the mud. And so in the same way that through the practice of the Dharma that one is liberated from samsara, one unstained, although one is originally obscured by these defects and by the defilements, then it becomes unstained by the defects and defilements. So therefore the hands are placed together in the shape of a lotus blossom that is still closed, but is just beginning to open, and that the hands in that gesture then placed at the head to as a sign of showing respect with one's body, and then they are placed at the throat as a symbol of one's showing reverence through one's speech, and at the heart as a symbol of showing respect or reverence with one's mind. And then it's that one places the 5 points of the body on the ground. The 5 points of the body touch the ground. And this is because the reason why one does that is to overcome, is to show that one has no pride. So one adopts a posture in which one is giving up a posture in which one could demonstrate pride or a conceit towards oneself. And so as a sign of that, sign of humility, that one touches the ground with the 5 points of the body. And there are two forms of doing this. There's what's called in English the full-length prostration and the half prostration. It's like paradox in English, but anyway. So the full-length prostration is what we do in the preliminary practices, and then what's called the half prostration is what we do in generally into the images and to the teachers and so on. But this is not necessarily, when one says one is paying homage, one is not necessarily actually doing that with the body. And so, but instead one is in reciting the homage, one and has the meaning that one is showing respect with one's body, speech and mind, so that the main point is that one's mind should be not in a state of pride and so on, but in a state of peaceful and calm and controlled. And that is the meaning of doing the physical prostration. So therefore one says one pays homage with the body. And when it's said in the Dewachem prayer that when one pays homage, then distance makes no difference. So when one pays homage, then it doesn't matter whether the one to whom one is paying homage is near or far, that there's no difference whatsoever in the result and benefit of paying homage. It's like paying homage through the body, it's an act of prostration. Then there's the paying homage through the speech, and so that is when one is saying, I pay homage, and so on. So that is paying homage with the speech, and then, but then the homage expressed by the body and the speech, these are just symbols for the homage that is paid in the mind. So it's the faith and devotion and reverence that is felt in the mind, which is the true homage. And so actually, if one has that, it doesn't really matter how many actual physical prostrations one is doing, whether one is doing a lot or whether one is doing many. The main point is that there is this faith and devotion and reverence in the mind. So in the mind there should be this truly sincere and heartfelt devotion and reverence. And so in that way one does, whether one is just doing, say, like 3 physical prostrations, and together with that there is this genuine devotion in the mind, then in that way one is paying homage through the body and through the speech and through the mind. So it said that if one filled the whole world full of like jewels, and then gave that as an act of generosity, then if one could do that, then there would be a great deal of merit accumulated by doing that. Then also one could have someone who, say, hears the name Amitabha, and hearing the name of Amitabha thinks, that is very good. Amitabha, that's who I need, and feeling faith and reverence towards Amitabha, put their hands together in reverence as an act of homage. Then a question is asked in the text, well, which one creates the greatest merit? And so it's that you might think that, well, the world being filled with jewels and being given away as an act of generosity, then that's unrivaled as an act of accumulating merit, that nothing can compete with that as an act of generating merit. But it said that, in fact, the person who just hears the name of Amitabha and puts their hands together as an act of homage actually has greater merit than that act, the act of giving away a world filled with jewels. And I think that, well, that might seem that, the act of giving away all these jewels, that is a great act, and the, very important, whereas the hearing the name of Amitabha and just putting the hands together in reverence is a very tiny act, kind of almost insignificant action. But although a great deal of merit is created by giving away a world full of jewels, and there's a vast amount of merit, and that merit will ripen for oneself karmically, and though in fact there isn't much of an act in putting one's hands together in homage to Amitabha, there isn't a kind of great ripening of merit that will come as a result of that, but nevertheless that is the more important act, because it plants this seed of this homage to Amitabha, and then through that will gradually increase, that will develop into rebirth in Dewa Chen, and in Dewa Chen progress along the path, so it becomes vaster and vaster with a very vast result. So though the giving away of a world full of jewels really generates a greater amount of merit than putting one's hands together in homage, that act of homage is more powerful, has a greater result. So therefore, when we pay homage to Amitabha, we should think of the great result that comes from doing that, the great blessing and positive result that it can bring to beings. And So that was the first of the seven branches. The first method for accumulating merit, which is the act of homage. Then the second is offering. So we wish to develop conviction and devotion in Amitabha, so therefore the recipient of our offerings should be Amitabha. We should make our offerings to Amitabha, and there are three kinds of offerings that we can make to Amitabha. So the first of these are actual possessions. So whatever it is that one has, that one is able to make an offering of. So there's the offering of one's actual possessions. Then the second kind is the offering of mentally created offerings. So in other words, whatever one can imagine, something vast and most perfect of offerings that we imagine and offer to Amitabha. So that's another method of gathering the accumulations, offering up actual possessions and offering mentally created offerings. Then the third, offerings that are like inherently present or primordially existent. But that means offerings such as such things as like mountains and rivers and lakes and ponds and forests and flowers and so on, all those things that are naturally present in the world. So although we don't own them, we can, like in our mind, make an offering of all these things that are naturally existing, naturally present to Amitabha. And we don't make the offering thinking, well, Amitabha wants all these things, he needs them, so I'm giving them to him to satisfy him. But instead one thinks, the reason I make this offering to him is so I can gather an accumulation of merit. So I can gather the accumulations. So in doing this offering, that is what is happening, I'm gathering the accumulations. So with that outlook, one can offer all of the things that are just naturally present, naturally existing. So that's the second branch, or the second method for gathering accumulation of merit, which is offering. Then the third is confession. So in order to accumulate merit, we need to accumulate good actions. But then there are also the bad actions, the bad karma one has accumulated with one's body and speech. And there are those qualities in the mind, the bad thoughts and defilements, which we want to purify, to transform into something pure or into something good. And so one does confession, which in Tibetan is like shakpa, and this shakpa has this implication of that one is like cutting up all those bad actions and bad karma into little pieces and scattering them and getting rid of them. It's a complete eradication of one's bad karma. And one does that through these four powers of purification. The first of these is that which is like a complete remedy against bad actions. So one thinks, of whatever bad actions one has done with one's body, whatever bad actions I've done with my speech, whatever bad actions I have done with my mind, whether those that I have done knowingly, and then those bad actions that I have done unknowingly, whatever bad action I've done, whatever harm I've caused any other person, that one confesses them and repents having done any of these bad actions. And this is would be like the power of the remedial power, that which acts as a remedy against the bad actions one has done. So if one becomes aware of the actions one has done, one recognizes that there are these bad actions one has done, and regrets that they have been done, then the bad karma will diminish and will gradually become purified. So, but one needs to, regret that one has done those bad actions. But if, like, one confesses an action one's done, but is still glad that one did it, then that is not as a complete confession. It doesn't have this power to purify it, because one still has attachment to that action. So when one confesses, one shouldn't have that attachment. One should not be still glad that one has done that action. One should be regret any of these actions that one has done and which one confesses. Then this has the power to purify that karma. And so therefore this second power of purification is this power of rejection, the rejection of these bad actions. So one regrets that one has done these bad actions that one confesses. Then there's the third power, which is the power of reforming, of changing. And so that one thinks, well, there are these bad actions that I have done, and so these were not good. It was bad to have done those things. But so from now on I will change. So from this time onwards, I will not do those actions again. So those actions were bad, so from now on I will not do them again. So I'll change my conduct, or reform my conduct. So if one does that, then that has this power to purify the bad karma of the actions one has done. Whereas if one confesses a bad action and says that action was bad, I shouldn't have done that, so I confess that, but I won't be able to help doing it again, so I'm still going to keep on doing it, then that confession will not have that power of of purification. So one needs to think that from now on I will not do those bad actions again. That is this power of reforming one's conduct, or of not repeating the bad action. Then the fourth power is the power of reliance. So one is abandoning these bad actions that one has done, and then one turns to Amitabha and his close sons or his pupils, which is the great bodhisattvas such as Avalokiteshvara and Vajrapani, and so one supplicates to them, saying, I am abandoning these bad actions, I confess these bad actions, so give me your blessing for this abandoning of these bad actions and the purification of the bad karma. And so that is the power of reliance, in this case relying on Amitabha and the bodhisattvas. So there are these four powers of purification that are used in the practice of confession, which is the third of the 7 branches. And the fourth branch is rejoicing. And this is because we have a natural tendency towards jealousy or envy. And if, for example, someone is very happy, things go very well for a person, and we think, well, that's very good, but then at the same time, maybe we feel a little bit unhappy, a little bit uncomfortable because of jealousy. Or somebody has accumulated a great deal of merit, so we see someone's accumulated a great deal of merit and we think that's very good that that person has accumulated so much merit. But at the same time there's a little corner where one feels a bit unhappy, a bit uncomfortable about it, and that is the envy. And so oh dear. And so this envy becomes a natural cause for bad karma, and it becomes harmful. So the way to get rid of the envy and to eliminate the envy is to rejoice, and have the joy of rejoicing in the happiness and good karma of others. So if other beings are very happy, then one feels, develops a sincere rejoicing and happiness in the good fortune of others. And if someone has accumulated a good deal of merit, then one rejoices in that. One feels very, very happy. So one cultivates that, and doing that will also increase one's own good actions and good karma, because rejoicing in the happiness and the good karma of others will increase one's own aspiration towards good actions and accumulating merit. So therefore there's this branch which is rejoicing in the happiness of others, in their accumulation of good karma, and rejoicing in the good motivation that people are able to develop. And the next two branches are the request for the wheel of the Dharma to be turned, and the supplication not to pass into nirvana. So this request to turn the wheel of the Dharma and not to pass into nirvana is addressed to the Buddhas. So a Buddha may attain Buddhahood but not have the confidence to turn the wheel of the Dharma, feel that there is no benefit, that if they give any teachings. And so, for example, that a Buddha of our time, Buddha Shakyamuni, that having attained Buddhahood, that he said, well, what I have realized is too difficult to teach. If I teach this, there's no one who will be able to understand it, no one will be able to realize it. And so it is better if I just stay alone in the jungle, just meditating, happily on my own. But that then the deities Indra and Brahma, they came to him and they supplicated him. They requested him to turn the wheel of the Dharma, and so he did. And so then turning the wheel of the Dharma is then something that has benefited so many beings. So one requests Buddhas who have not turned the wheel of the Dharma to turn the wheel of the Dharma because of the great benefit that this will bring. And then similarly there will be Buddhas who may be considering to pass away, to end their lives and to pass into nirvana. And then one makes a supplication asking them not to do so, but to remain in the world. And if they remain in the world, then they can continue to turn the wheel of the Dharma and therefore benefit beings. And so one makes this request to turn the wheel of the Dharma and to not to pass into nirvana because of the great benefit that this will bring to so many beings. And so those two are the fifth and the sixth branches. Then the seventh branch is dedication, and this branch is development of the bodhicitta. So dedication and it'll be taught like together with about the development of bodhicitta. So they're the same thing. So although there are 7 branches, what being taught is accumulating merit through these 6 branches as the second cause for taking birth in Dewa Chen. So there are these 6 branches for accumulating merit as the second cause for rebirth in Dewa Chen. And so Rinpoche will end his talk there for this afternoon.